What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cashed Out. Hope you're having an awesome summer. Sorry for the little bit of a hiatus there. Haven't posted in a little while, but had a lot of good stuff going on. Had a lot of new client work to take care of, but now I've got a little bit of time, got a little bit of downtime here. So I figured we'd at least post some new videos, get some things rolling back again. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience using the Canon R5C. I had the opportunity to try it out, to use it on some paid client shoots, to be able to really get my hands on it and get a feel for it. And I've been shopping around, actually been looking at adding another camera to our setup to be able to do more client work, to be able to get some more cool images, cool shots and things like that. So I've been shopping around trying to get what will be a good new complement. And I looked at the R5, I looked at the R5, but because of the overheating, I really didn't want to risk it in terms of being like my go-to. So I was looking at the R5C to see if it's going to be worth the investment to add it into our collection. So today, I just want to give you guys my thoughts, kind of my experiences, a little bit of my feedback, just to help you out if you're in the same position where you're looking to upgrade your setup or upgrade your collection with the R5C. Then this will just be some of my experiences and see if it'll be helpful to you in terms of helping you make that decision. Now, the first thing that I did like about this camera was the footage. The 4K footage is absolutely fantastic. Just super good, and it's really high quality footage, and I've got some samples of it here. It can shoot up to 8K, but if you're shooting 4K, the regular 4K on the R5C is downsampled from that 8K, so it looks phenomenal. The image looked incredible. Once I got it from the camera and put it onto my computer and started editing it, it edited really smoothly. I mean, I was very impressed. I loved how good it was. I could pull and push. I really could do whatever I wanted to do with it, and the editing, the quality of the image looked fantastic. So the image quality, which is probably the most important thing for a camera, this nails it. You're not going to have any issues with image quality. It looks really good. That 4K, just the standard 4K on here, is that downsampled from 8K, and it looks amazing. So that's my first thing that I really liked about this camera right out of the box. The other thing that I did like was that it didn't have any overheating. It's an R5C, and on the back of the R5Cs, they actually have a fan now that allows it to be able to keep cooling, kind of keep that process going. So whenever you're shooting 8K or whatever you're shooting, you're really not going to have any issues with overheating. And in my time with my hands on this thing, overheating wasn't even a thought. It's not a problem. You can hear the fan kick on as you're using it, and it's very quiet. It's not going to be overpowering to where you can hear it on your footage. It does a really good job of being quiet, and it was really, really good. So no overheating issues with this one, no matter what mode you're shooting in, at least from the experience that I had with it so far. Now, the other thing that I did like about this camera too was the cinema menu, and this is very different from the standard Canon menu that you get from like the mirrorless cameras or the older DSLR cameras. The cinema menu is very specific to the cinema cameras, and it's very simple to get a hang of once you've gotten used to it. It wasn't overwhelming. Granted, I'd never actually used a cinema camera, so this was my first experience with this menu, and I was able to get a hang of it maybe after like 5 or 10 minutes of playing around with it. So not really a horrible thing. It's actually very intuitive. So once you get your hands on it, you'll be able to kind of navigate and do what you need to do with it on there. So I didn't get any shots of that. Dang it. That's one thing that I forgot to do. I forgot to get some B-roll shots of that menu, but take my word for it, the menu is fantastic, easy to navigate, and you're not going to be overwhelmed. There's a lot of options on there, but if you've used a DSLR before, if you used a mirrorless camera before, and you know what you're looking for in terms of being able to adjust your settings, picture profiles, that kind of thing, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If you're new to the game and this is the first camera you're picking up, I highly suggest you don't pick this up and actually get something that it's a little bit easier for you. So the image quality is fantastic, no overheating is great, and the menus were some of my favorite ones to use so far. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that I didn't like. I was not a big fan of the battery life on this camera. That's probably the first thing that I didn't enjoy. I feel like the battery really drains quickly with this camera, and granted, the camera is a freaking beast, right? You're shooting 10-bit 8K, you've got a lot of firepower with this camera, but when I was just playing around with the menus, just kind of getting familiar with the settings, it went from 100% fully charged to like 90% while I was on there for maybe like, I don't know, it was like 5 or 10 minutes of just playing around with the menus. So that kind of surprised me, and then when I got to the actual shoots, when I was shooting through the interviews, the battery did drain very quickly. Now, I know it's shooting really high quality, doing a great job. It drained way faster than the R6 that was there with it. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, but if you're able to basically work around that, the one thing that I do like about it is that the USB-C port that comes with it is actually capable of power delivery. So if you have, like for me, I have a 2019 MacBook Pro, and it's got the USB-C cable and the power brick that connects into the wall. So you can use that to be able to power the camera and keep it going longer. It's really nice that you don't need like the dummy battery adapter that you need for the R6 or the R5. You can actually just use that USB-C power delivery and be able to use that to power the camera. So that's a very good feature. Really like that aspect of it. Even though the battery life does suck, you do get that power delivery option to be able to keep it going longer. So that's the first dislike that I had with this camera, is just the battery life with it. Now, besides the battery life, the other thing that I didn't like is that this camera does not come with IBIS. Now, not having stabilization in this camera, I feel like it's one of those additional Canon cripple hammers that they put to it. They make such a really good product, and then they just kind of hit it with a hammer right in the kneecaps, right? Because I feel like IBIS would have been such a perfect complement to this camera, because you've gotten rid of the overheating issues that was in the R5. You still have that high quality 8K downsampled image. You have the cinema menus. You literally have all the good stuff going on for it. But if you don't have IBIS on it, you're kind of now have to be stuck to either a gimbal or a tripod, and in order to keep that steady footage, because playing around with it, that IBIS does make a huge difference. When you have IBIS, the footage is way steadier than with just using the stabilization, either the digital stabilization that it has built in, or a combination of that and the lens stabilization. I feel like it's okay, but you still notice a lot of shake as compared to IBIS. So not having IBIS was a bummer for me, because I was like, you know what, you really can't use it the way I like to shoot. And that kind of ties into the third thing that I didn't like about this camera, is the lag time between switching from photo to video. I think there's like about, honestly, 5 to 8 seconds of lag when you switch from video mode to photo, or from photo to video. Now, for you, this may not be a deal breaker, because if you just shoot video strictly, then you're fine. You don't need to switch over to photo, so this may not even be an issue for you. But for me, it was an issue because of my workflow. I'm a hybrid shooter, so I usually will shoot photos and videos while I'm doing events, so I'm always floating in between one or the other. And when I tried to do photos and video with this one, the video was fine. I was able to shoot the video, but when I was like, oh man, I want to catch that shot, and I switched it over to photo, that 5 to 8 second lag really hurts, because I'm usually shooting events. I'm usually got a lot of stuff happening while I'm doing my shoots, and I can't wait 5 to 8 seconds, because that moment is gone by the time my camera switches over to photo mode. So I want to make sure that I get a camera that's able to handle that and be snappy going from video to photo, and this R5C just doesn't have that. It just doesn't have that. I don't know why. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's just because of the switch between the menus, from the cinema menus to the regular photo menus, and back and forth. It's just a little bit complex right now for it. But the lag time between switching from modes is a big dislike for me. I did not have a good time with that. And the image from the photos is fantastic. Like I mentioned, the image quality, you're not going to have an issue with that. But getting there, that 5 to 8 seconds between the switch is kind of a little bit of a problem. So that's one of the dislikes that I didn't like about this R5C experience that I've had with it. Now, the last thing that I'll hit on this in terms of a dislike is that you need the CFast Express cards. Now, I personally don't hate the CFast Express cards. I think they're really good. They work really well with this camera. They allow you to be able to really pull the full potential out of it for photo and videos, and also all the R5 and R3s, all those cameras that use a CFast Express. It is very useful, but it sucks, and I would put it as a negative or a dislike, because it is another expense. The CFast Express cards are very expensive, and on top of that, you actually have to buy a reader for it. You can't use your standard SD card reader to be able to read those. So that's just an additional expense on top of the camera not having the IBIS, not having, all the other little details to it. Overall, the camera is fantastic. Like, I think, just to kind of sum up my experience with it, I really like the image quality of it. The image quality was incredible. The use of it, the menus, everything was fantastic. It's just, for me personally, if you're in my scenario where you're a hybrid shooter and you need IBIS, you need to be able to float between photo and video quickly, and you want to kind of keep that flow of your workflow going, then this might not be for you. If you are a hybrid shooter and you need to go back and forth, this isn't for you. If you're constantly on the go, if you don't use a gimbal, if you're more like kind of just on a kind of a run and gun shooter, then this would not be the best camera for that. But if you're more of a studio shooter, if you have the setup, if you use a tripod 90% of the time, if you use a gimbal, or you're just more like a controlled environment shooter, then the R5C might be perfect because you can plug in the USB-C power delivery and avoid the battery life issue. You can put it on a tripod, avoid the stabilization issue, and really if you're just shooting in that controlled environment and you're not constantly shifting and changing, then this camera might work really well. But for my case, for my scenario and what we're looking to do, it just is not the right fit. So hope this helps you guys out. Just wanted to give you guys some feedback on my experience with this camera. Like I mentioned, phenomenal camera. If you get it and it fits your needs, you're not going to be disappointed. But in terms of a hybrid and kind of a run and gun scenario, this isn't the best fit for that, but it's still a very good camera, short of the Canon cripple hammer that they put on it. So, but anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We got a few more videos coming up, just some trying to get creative in some different style of videos, so it might take a little bit longer than usual, but hopefully it'll be worth the wait. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day and we'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.